good ones.
So something that we've discussed sometimes is just how Kirk Cousins, when he is supposed to go to a read, he's going to go to that read kind of regardless of who the player is. And he threw a lot to Laquan Treadwell last year. And I was looking at some numbers with Pro Football Reference, and Laquan Treadwell and plays that involved him was a negative player from like an expected points perspective. And Thielen and Diggs were, of course, super positive for them. The year before, Jarius Wright was a positive player for Case Keenum.
I'd like Jarius Wright.
Me too.
I wanted them to
just
re-sign
sort
him
of,
last year.
But not flashy, right? He wasn't flashy. He was just sort of like that consistent. He was sort of a Cheryl's on the offensive side of the ball.
On third down.
They called him Mr. Third Down.
And he won some games.
He did.
I remember the Jets quick screen or whatever at the end. It was the Jets, I think, to win. I mean, he won games. He had some big catches.
He had a good year in Carolina, all things considered, too.
Great guy, by the way.
Great guy.
And he made a big catch in the Minneapolis Miracle game, too, I think, on a third down. Well, that was missing from last year. And I wonder about them.
So you've been on the third wide receiver hunt now for a month.
I have.
For a while.
Are you sick of it yet? Because I am.
That's too bad.
I'm not sick of the talk that they need another weapon.
They do.
Whether it's a tight end or third wide receiver.
So it's the three, and I love Rudy, but he's not that vertical threat. He brings so much value to this team on the field, off the field, the community, everything. Great on third downs. I like the way he blocks, but he's not going to stretch the field, and you need to have that third threat, whether it's a receiver, but really we'd love to have as a extremely fast. What I'd love to have as a really a third, fourth receiver is someone that can really fly.
Yeah.
Those guys are the best because then it opens up. So we had that in Houston when we had Andre Johnson. How did we get Andre Johnson the ball 120 times? Because we had guys like Jacoby Jones and some other guys Andre Davis, who were just like track sprinters. And they could fly and clear out these big pieces of grass for Andre Johnson to work. We need somebody like that. And that could be a sort of second tight end that's more a vertical guy, maybe like he's 240 pounds, but he can really stretch the field. He's fast vertically, more of a receiver tight end type, or a receiver who can really roll. It would open up all that stuff for the underneath guys.
So I was thinking about just from the perspective of a Shanahan-style Gary Kubiak offense and what it means to have a tight end who can run after the catch or who is a little bit more of a vertical threat. So if you were given the choice, would you get Kirk Cousins, one of those type of, scat players out of the backfield, like a Chris Thompson, who he had in Washington that could play wide receiver or running back? Would you get him a number 2 tight end who was quick? Or would you give him the pure number 3 wide receiver for this offense?
I think I'd like to see more of a super fast, speedy, third down killer tight end. Explosive guy, but a tight end that's maybe his block. It's not. I mean, that's the thing is like Noah Fant would be like that guy. He'll probably be a first round pick. But I watched him in Iowa. He was the second tight end, and he had all this talent. Had crazy numbers, but he wasn't a great blocker. So he was sort of like what you call the U tight end in the set. The Y is your main tight end, usually the better blocker. But you were looking for that second tight end guy because I want to run the football. Like I was tired of being in shotgun last year. I don't like running the ball it helps so much the tackles. If your tackles aren't great, they can double team in all the zone blocking schemes or with a tight end and get movement on like a defensive end, and then they work their way up to an outside linebacker or whatever it is.
Yeah,
I like double teams in the running game in this zone running game, and you can go either way when you're in a 2 tight end set. Whether it's 2 receivers or 2 backs, but you can sort of go either way, and they're going to get that extra double team. And I like having that ability, in particular on third downs, 3rd 1 and 2. I like running the ball on 3rd and 1 too, and the ability to do that. But you have to have that, good second tight end that can also beat you in the passing game.
I think I'd love the second tight end too, just because so many teams don't have it, and it creates a mismatch where you see opponents bring in 3 linebackers. You're like, this is great if you have that second guy who can go down the field.
And you formation things. That's also the guy you put outside as like a wide receiver.
Right.
You know what? They have a strong safety who is maybe it's the backup that's in, or a guy that's just not much. He's a box guy, as they would say. And like we want to pick on that strong safety and man coverage. And so you put him out wide and you sort of play him as a wide receiver. So that creates this sort of like man zone thing. And again, in that Shanahan Kubiak offense, they like, and I know Stefanski loves to do it too. And this is like Kevin Rogers used to say this to us. If the defense is going to tell you what to do, you might as well ask them. And that was sort of the thing with like putting tight ends or fullbacks or running backs out wide. If they cover them with a strong safety or linebacker, it's man coverage like 98% of the time. And so that's a part of this style of offense too, because then they can start creating packages. We're going to put a tight end outside. We're going to call this run. We're going to call this pass. But if they're in man coverage, we're going to call this special screen that we have in store because we think we can hit it versus man coverage. And there's no one there, and we like that type of play. So there's all these things they do with that second tight end that could be really good for other aspects of the game.